Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Behind the Voices with Derek, Steve, and Prince. And now, your very special guest, Joshua SETH! And there we go. We are in.
Wow.
Yeah. How are you, sir?
Is this thing on? Is it working? I don't see anybody. I got dressed up for the occasion.
I know. I love your shirt,
fans
dude.
would appreciate it, you know.
Where'd you get that?
Probably some Comic-Con somewhere in the world at some point. You know, where they give you the bag of swag.
Yeah. Exactly.
The studio didn't send it to me. I can tell you that for sure. Somebody gave it to me.
Oh my goodness. So
all the best stuff I have is because fans gave it to me in regards to anything I've ever done.
Right, as far as good merch goes, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
They give me stuff when they're having me sign, and I brought one for you. I brought you fan art. I brought you a poster. I brought you. This is how I have all my Digimon and Akira and all that paraphernalia and swag. It's just from people at Comic-Cons giving them to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I keep them.
For those of you who don't know who Joshua Seth is, you need to get off this channel right now. Shame on you.
Even if you do know who I am. Go outside. Play in the street. Like we did.
Yas.
Chase some cars.
How is the weather out there in Florida right now?
Humid.
Yeah.
With a capital humid.
Humid?
It's humid, yes.
It's so humid.
You go outside and you start schwitzing right away. You need a shower. But I like to paddleboard, so I've got my kayak and my paddleboard and everything in a slip literally right across the street. And
that's
awesome. Just go over there. Yeah, and that's a nice way to cool down and see some dolphins and manatees and things. But if not for that, it would be intolerable this time of year. About three months out of the year, Florida's only good for like alligators and mosquitoes and things. The other 9 months, though, it's fantastic. So it's a give and take anywhere.
I don't know how long you normally go kayaking for. I'm assuming it's probably for at least...
Depends if I get lost or not. I got lost a couple of days ago. I thought, I'll come back through the mangroves and see what wildlife is there. And I can tell that this is true. I can tell there's a storm coming in. It's looking ominous. I'm losing the light. So, bright idea. Yeah. I'll take a shortcut. Right. Except I went maybe for half an hour into the mangroves and suddenly they stopped.
Oh.
Like there's just a wall of mangroves, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's like water foliage that comes up in gnarled trunks out of the ground, and you can't get past it if it's like that. So I ended up having to retrace my steps back to the starting point, go all the way back, and that was a 2-hour. That was paddleboarding, standing up. It's like doing vertical Pilates. That was a good workout.
When it was just you that got lost, was it just you, or did you have your kids with you?
Yes, no, luckily it was just me.
Just you, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Yeah.
I actually have enjoyed getting lost all over the world. I like it because the world, for me anyway, sort of time stops, everything slows down, you become hyper present and everything locks in and you find out what you're made of. Not so much just getting lost in the mangroves with the storm rolling in.
Sure.
Although if it had hit, they are torrential this time of year in Florida. I would not want to be outside in any circumstance during a downpour like that, which happened maybe 20 minutes after I got back from that. But like I've gotten lost in Tokyo, for instance. I was shooting a TV special over there, and I had a translator with me when I was shooting the special. But one day I just decided to wander out of my hotel and see the sights, and I had no idea where I was staying. I didn't know the name of it. She'd given me a business card. Everything was in Japanese. All the signs were in Japanese, and it's another alphabet, so I couldn't even sound it out. Like if you're in Europe or something, it's like, okay, I can sort of figure out how to pronounce this based on the letters. No, none of that. I didn't know what was behind door number 3, a grocery store or a massage parlor. I mean, it literally could have been anything. So I've enjoyed getting lost like that all around the world, and you remember those moments. Makes you feel alive.
Yeah, absolutely. crazy the way the things work. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy, I tell you. I'm not sure if he is on here with us because I'm focusing on you and not what people are chatting about. Big shout out to you from the Razman. So, those of you,
him that nickname so long ago.
I know, right? Those of you guys who are now like deer in headlights and clueless and have no idea what the hell we're talking about, Rob Rasner is a mutual friend of ours, basically. Maybe a fun fact that you guys might not know about Mr. Seth is that he, in addition to being a absolutely fantastic voiceover actor, is also a magician. And that's how you and Rob met, correct?
That's true, up at the Magic Castle in Hollywood Hills.
Yes.
And when I left LA and I left the voiceover business as the primary gig that I was doing, it was because I had the opportunity to tour with my live show, which was mentalism and hypnosis and different sort of branches of offshoots of magic, let's say.
Yeah. Absolutely. How long have you been a magician? Have you been a magician like even before you moved out to Los Angeles, or did that suddenly kind of morph?
I was like a kid's magician. Yeah, I have a 9-year-old son now, and like he likes it, and he's having an easier time learning it than I did because back in the olden days, I had to learn it through books and pamphlets. Right? They didn't have DVD, didn't have DVDs, YouTube, and me teaching him. So I'm just like, here, you do this and this and this. Oh, he got it in 5 minutes. It would be hours of reading a book and trying to decipher like line drawings.
Right.
When I learned it. So, yeah, I enjoyed magic, but I wasn't at a level where I could tour or have people pay to see me at a theater or something until I got good at that around the time I got good at voiceovers. Like, it took a long time, years for both. And I just stuck it out in Hollywood with both those careers simultaneously until all of a sudden, right around the same time, like around 99, 2000, right in there, both careers hit to the point where I was very busy at both for another 5 or 6 years, and then decided I'm going to have a heart attack if I don't choose one or the other here, because I wasn't saying no to anything. It took me so long to get any gigs in either voiceovers or live entertainment that I just said yes to everything, as most actors and entertainers have that experience to some degree or another. Mm-hmm. But for me, it just took me so long to make it, and I just couldn't say no to anything unless I physically moved out of Los Angeles. That's really why I moved.
Who knew? Like, because I think this started maybe 4 years ago. Who knew when Digimon Try would come to America, like, there would be this huge resurgence for you of, like, holy crap, it's like, now what do I do?
Well, it's been fun. Digimon Try is the thing that brought me back into the voiceover field.
Yeah.
Because of the fans all over the internet asking if I was going to voice Ty. Maybe we should mention. Yeah, did you intro me? Did you say like the stuff that I do? I don't think that we did that.
We never got that far.
I play Ty on Digimon. Where is it?
Since we're
I play Ty, the leader of the Digimon.
And since we're on that tread, I'll mention a few other things. Yes, of course. You were. Am I correct? Were you on Speed Racer?
Yeah.
You were.
But not the original one.
Not the original one, but you were on Speed Racer X, and you played Sparky.
Correct.
Yes. Well, hello. So there was that. Obviously, you were also part of Transformers: Robots in Disguise.
I was in Transformers, yeah.
Yeah. And then 12 Kingdoms.
Yes.
Akira Asano was your character.
Well, you're doing some deep cuts there.
I am well.
Those aren't the obvious credits.
Here are some not so obvious credits and some fun facts for all of you guys watching, and probably news for you as well. We both voiced the same character, but at different times for two different things.
Okay.
So, and the funny thing about it is that I voiced them first and then you took over.
Oops, sorry.
So the first one was Cyborg 009.
I remember when I got the call for that.
Yeah.
They never told me who I was replacing.
That was me.
Okay.
That was me. Hi.
Outing yourself. Do you know why they replaced you with me? You know what happened?
No idea, dude. No idea. I mean, something from production came down like, yeah, it was okay, but I don't know. There was just something off about your voice. We don't.
That's what I.
No
that's
hard
what I
feelings.
was told. That was Cyborg Soldier 009.
Yes.
Which apparently we both played the title character in, but only I get credit for. That was maybe I think that was the last full series that I voiced before I moved out of Los Angeles.
Is that right?
I had already sold my house and was in the process of moving to Santa Barbara at that point. And I got the call, please, come in. Like, we're already in production for this. We got to scrap this because some higher ups that weren't there made the decision that they wanted a different sound and they wanted my sound. And I said, pay me double. And
nice.
And they laughed. We all had a good laugh.
It's like, no, I'm serious.
I don't remember. I mean, that doesn't really happen, guys. Anywho, I ended up doing it. Yeah, so that was the last series I did before I moved.
And then the other one that we shared characters with was Zeno Saga.
That came out well.
In Zeno Saga 3, you took over a character that I initially introduced in Zeno Saga 1, which was Chaos. So there you go. Fun facts.
I got some fan awards about that.
Yes.
I remember. Yeah, people really like that.
Yeah.
Very evil. But I never heard what you did. I never want to hear any vocal references. People ask, do you listen to the Japanese or anybody? No, I don't, because I don't want to be derivative of anything. Of course. I wonder how that worked, if it was the same character voiced by two different people.
I don't know.
I wonder if anybody noticed.
I believe everyone has at least one skill that they excel in over all others. It's something that defines who they are. It's the same for me. It's just something I can do.
Chaos! I don't understand. Why are you here?
Since you are here, it must mean that you have come for her.
Her?
I don't know.
I wonder if anybody cares.
That in addition to obviously some of your more famous roles, there actually are some roles that people remember you for where you only appeared like in one episode, dude. Because
I know one of them.
That's how much of impact you had. Which one?
All the time I hear about, I played Young Knives in Trigun.
That's it.
And I think that was one episode.
That's it. That's exactly it. And then of course you were also in one of the earlier animes, Wolf's Reign, which was awesome.
That was great.
With
quality series for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Yes,
it's violent. It's got a bit of the ultra violence in it.
Yes.
Yes,
it does.
Good quality and masterfully directed by Mary Elizabeth McGlynn.
Yes. When you transitioned from here back to Florida and you started doing more of the live stuff, was there like any internal stuff going on as far as, oh my God, am I going to be able to make a living doing this? I'm making a big move.
No.
Was there any concern about that whatsoever? Or were you just already pre-booked and it's like, oh man, I'm set. I know exactly.
No, actually, well, before I went to Florida, as I mentioned, I went to Santa Barbara and I didn't have any work and I just made salsa and sat on the beach and went kite surfing, I think, at that point. For 6 months. For 6 months, I didn't do anything.
Wow.
And just contemplated life. I just needed a break at that point.
Yeah.
I've been working very hard, every day, doing gigs every day for 6 years without a break. I mean, weekends, evenings, because I'd be in recording studios all day, and then I'd go and do a private event in the Hollywood Hills at night, or I'd go to the Castle and do a gig, or I'd go to Vegas on the weekend and do a corporate gig. It was literally without a day's break for maybe 6 years. So I just stopped everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't have kids at that point, and I am not materialistic. I don't care about having a new car or a fancy watch, or I don't know what people buy. Just basic, I want a roof over my head and some air conditioning and a salad. Right. But I don't need much. What I need now is because I have kids. So that's the financial motivation now, because job number one is keep those little guys alive.
Yes.
But for myself, I don't care. So one step up from living on the beach is fine for me. And that's another reason I've enjoyed traveling the world. I've been to over 40 countries now. Wow. And I just enjoy staying like in a youth hostel and backpacking. I've stayed there, those kind of places, and I've stayed in some of the finest 5-star resorts in the world that the clients paid for. And my first international gig after I left LA doing live shows was in Tahiti. And then they put me up in Bora Bora at their sister resort for a week afterwards, and I learned to scuba dive.
Wow.
I made a condition of the contract.
That is
because
amazing.
I'm not going to fly to French Polynesia halfway around the world to be on stage for an hour and then get right on a plane.
Right.
Like, you guys got to put me up for a week. And they said yes. So I've done both, but on my own, I really prefer just living close to the people and the land and getting to know the culture and the food and the experience of the place. Yeah. So I had no concern about how am I going to make a living or anything. And it wasn't like I was rich or something. I didn't have kids, and I don't really care.
Right.
So
yeah, your only financial
I
responsibility.
want to be safe and alive.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't. That's never been a motivating factor for me. I just want to pursue my passions as an artist, and those evolve over time. So the dream I had when I was 8 wasn't the same as I had when I was 30, and isn't the same as it is now. I don't know how it could be.
Yeah.
Fear holds us back, man. Fear of the unknown. It really does. It holds people back because they're like, well, I'd rather stick with the devil I know than risk the devil I don't, right? So they stay in an untenable situation or a bad relationship or an unsatisfying career simply because they're afraid of what comes next. I say screw it. Unless there are people depending on you, and that would therefore be an irresponsible decision. At that point in my life, there weren't. Right. So I left.
Yeah.
Rolled the dice. I figured I could always come back.
Yeah.
And I never did.
You're in Santa Barbara. What causes you to gravitate towards Florida out of all of the other states in the U.S.?
I just really didn't think it through.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's fair.
I did. Well, okay, here's the thing. I was, at that point, it was a while before I moved to Florida. I only moved to Florida, actually, it was a year after my son was born. Okay. So I guess it was 8 years ago. Yeah. I had another house by that point elsewhere. Actually, it was back in Ohio where I grew up. And my wife at the time, who shall remain unnamed, she was very unhappy with the long, harsh winters. And I was doing well. So I said, well, I'll just buy a beach house. We'll have a summer house and a winter house. I realize I'm saying this after saying I'm not materialistic and don't care about that. But that's what allowed me to make the transition to another career, which put me in a position where I was able to afford that. Mm-hmm. And so we had a little kid. I was on tour a lot. The wife was unhappy, and I figured this would solve the problem. I didn't realize I would live down here all the time, but what happens is those kids, see, you may not know this, those of you that aren't parents, but they grow. And so a few years later now, suddenly...
What?
Yeah,
they do.
They get
small,
bigger.
Little...
They do. They start out small, and then they get big. And so when I said I didn't think this through, this is what I mean. So he was one. We only had one kid. And then now fast forward a few years. Now we've got 2 kids, and they're both in school. And I have to pick, where am I going to raise them? Mm-hmm. And at that point, I had a foothold in 2 places, Ohio, where I grew up, and Florida. And we were having a lot more fun in Florida than in Ohio, right? Because we could be outside all year round, paddleboarding, golfing, theme parks for the kids. Right. I live on this little peninsula, which is basically like a 3-sided island. You can get from one side to the other in 10 minutes. There's a city on one side. There's a big airport 20 minutes away. There's beaches all around, and it's fun. So I just said, okay, well, we'll just move here and raise them here. Then I got divorced down here, so now I'm stuck. And that's the story. Now I can't leave.
There you go, right, yeah. Obviously, not everybody is as successful as you've been in terms of, I mean, for all intents and purposes, what you do now is motivational speaking, is it not?
I don't really like the term motivational because I am not a positive person. So I don't know that
you're the antithesis of Motivational speaking.
Is toxic positivity, okay? Like I'm not a believer in wearing rose-colored glasses and just going rah rah rah. Everything's great, and if you don't look on the bright side of life, then you're bringing negativity in.
Yeah.
No, like there's bad people and bad shit going down at all times all over the world, and good things as well. But I think we need to be clear-eyed about it, and then make a decision to move and take action in a direction that will bring more positivity into the world. Yes. As a Jew, we call it tikkun olam, right? To leave the world a better place is the idea.
Yes, yes.
And I'm not really religious, but I can use those words because of my heritage. So the idea of positivity or motivation or whatever doesn't really land right with me, but I am a speaker that motivates people to perform at a higher level. Right now, it's a communication skills topic upon which I speak. I've had several different speaking topics over the years, and they're an outgrowth of all the time that I've put in on stages in various capacities throughout the world in different environments. And over time, I realized I had something to say and something to give back. But I don't know that it's necessarily motivational. It's perhaps inspirational. Okay. Perhaps I can tell you my story and things that I have overcome. And for instance, now I know we'll talk about this later, but I'm running this online voiceover class for people. And I tell them it was hard for me. First of all, I didn't know anybody in Hollywood. I didn't have financial resources, and I didn't have a trained voice, and my voice sounded very young. It didn't really change when I hit puberty, and so I had to train my voice. I actually studied with someone that trains opera singers when I was out in Los Angeles, and I trained with somebody that does postural awareness to open up your physiology. I took different singing training and so forth. I had a musical theater background, but I was a tenor at the time, and now I'm a lyric baritone. Okay. So I know you have some background in musical theater as well, as many of us do in voiceover. That was the jumping off point, the musical theater background. So I knew enough to get trained. But, basically I kind of sounded like this all the time, which when you're in your 20s is not really cool. It was enough to get some voiceover work. But I share that story on stage now, talking about communication skills and teaching these skills to more business people that need to learn them. But then I'm doing these online voiceover classes for people and saying, hey, if I can do it, you can too. But don't think that it's going to be easy. It takes work. Anything worth having is worth working for, right? And don't think, if I buy this microphone, it's like buying these shoes as an athlete. I buy these shoes, I'm going to run faster and jump higher. Maybe a little bit, but you also have to practice. You also have to learn your craft.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you started doing that transition to do more of the inspirational talks and go touring and share with people your stories, did you just take a leap of faith and just start doing that? Did you study? Did you read some books to become better? What was that like?
I wouldn't say it was a leap of faith. A ship adrift will get lost, right? If you don't have a destination in mind, then you're probably not going to land somewhere you like. You're just going to float around out there. So during those 6 months when I was sitting around with no gigs in Santa Barbara and not even looking for any gigs, I thought a lot about, what do I want to do with my life? And if I already had millions of dollars in the bank, how would I spend my time? And what makes me happy? These sorts of questions. Sure. And then once I answered them for myself, I was able to reverse engineer a career path and start to take the steps that led me toward that destination. And I recognized that, for instance, I wanted to tour on. One of the first things I wanted to do was I had a show. Okay, I had something to sell. At the time, it was a comedy hypnosis show that I had been doing around Los Angeles and in Las Vegas at events. Right. And that was the very first show that I started to sell. And I decided I wanted to do it on cruise ships because I wanted to travel the world, and I wanted the benefit of being in big theaters with 1,000 people in the audience that I didn't have to sell tickets for. Sure. That was very nice. Yes. But I also wanted the experience of going to these exotic destinations that they were flying me to. So when I say I've been to 40 some countries, that's how it started for the most part.
Right.
And then it evolved into corporate gigs and theaters and other things. But I would fly out to meet a ship in Curacao or Jamaica or Greece or Thailand or wherever, Egypt. I've been all over. And I'd get there a day or so in advance of the ship. They'd put me up in a resort. I'd then get on the ship, do a tech walkthrough rehearsal in the theater, do 2 shows for 1,000 people each in the big theater, and then hang out on the cruise ship as a passenger for the rest of the week. They'd pay for my travel. They'd pay for my gig.
Free food!
And then I didn't have kids at the time, so if I didn't have another gig to come right back to, I'd say, hey, just leave me in Barcelona or whatever for another week instead of flying me back, and you can then fly me from here to Jamaica for the next gig, and then I would just traipse around Europe or wherever. That was when I said, like, oh, I've been in both the resorts because other people were paying for them, and the hostels because I was choosing to do that on my own, and experienced all of this. And then I wrote 3 books while I was on the road, and I developed my keynotes because I had ready audiences and time on my hands, and I started doing speaking. After the hypnosis shows, I wrote a book on our emotional connection to food and how it relates to our eating patterns, and using how you can use self-hypnosis and meditation to break yourself of lifelong habits and have a more healthy relationship with food. And I must have done that talk at least 100 times, that speech, on cruise ships after my shows. Then I had another show, which was mentalism. People call it mind reading, but mentalism is like a branch of magic. And I, over time, started to expand on that show until that became the primary show. And I basically almost dropped the hypnosis because I was more passionate about evolving and working out the notes and the set pieces in this new show. And then I started booking theaters and colleges. I did over 400 colleges with that show, and corporates and other things. And then I moved on to the next book and the next speech. And now I'm on like my 5th speech. And back in March when I was out in LA voicing Kazuna, the Digimon movie that is most recent and about to come out.
Yep.
They shut down LA the day that I was out there. I couldn't get a bite to eat. There were no restaurants open. I had to eat out of a vending machine that night in the hotel in Burbank where I was staying. And then immediately, well, not immediately, but basically soon after that in March, within 48 hours anyway, every live gig in my whole career is live gigs now, you realize, right? Keynotes and shows. They all canceled on me, all my revenue, everything. And I had people on my payroll, like an outside salesperson, marketing guy. I had virtual assistants and people that I'm paying that are working for me. And I've got kids now, and I got an ex-wife. I got like responsibilities and payments going out the door and a business, and gone in March. And then I was in shock and catatonic for about a week. And then I was... you go through the stages of grief, right?
Yes.
Like the denial and the depression and the anger, looking for somebody to blame, and then all these things. And finally, I land on, what am I going to do about it? Whatever your position is, dear viewers, what are you going to do? Okay? Bitching and moaning and complaining about you don't like the way the world is. Okay, what are you going to do? You're either going to change your situation or change the world. You're going to do something actionable. So what I decided to do was make an announcement that I was retiring from show business, which I was, people mentioned on social media, hey, how can you retire a show that you have no bookings for? Because I wanted that to be my decision, damn it. Right. My decision, right? So I wrote a rather lengthy article, it got published even, about how I was going to take matters into my own hands and just decide I'm not making the transition to virtual with my show. I'm going to do something new and different. And that's what allowed me to find, for the 3rd time now in my adult life, a new path, a new way forward. And that's what I'm doing now as a virtual keynote speaker. And I've put together a boot camp and an online training program and these monthly classes. I've done all this since March of this year, every day a little bit more, creating content, getting the word out, getting more and more people coming through the program. I'm doing a big virtual keynote speech for a major tech company in a couple of weeks that I'm writing now. I just did one a couple of weeks ago. So this is now the 3rd career where I've reinvented myself pretty much from scratch just because necessity demanded it. Like, what am I going to do? Get depressed and go broke, or find a new way forward. And sometimes necessity can be the mother of invention, should we choose to look at it that way.
Absolutely.
As Frank Zappa said.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with all of that, which is awesome, by the way, thank you for sharing. Because I'm sure there are a bunch of people that are probably watching this or will be watching this, that are, in similar situations, similar positions. And I think half of this, well, probably more than half of people's success, and you can attest to this personally, is the way you think about it mentally. It
definitely starts with attitude.
Yeah.
It starts there.
Yeah.
Your attitude, your perspective, your desire to do something about your situation, something actionable. As a speaker, all speakers' purpose is to enact change in their audience, to create some sort of change.
Yeah.
So we can do that for ourselves, should we so choose.
Absolutely. With that said, sir, just so that you know that I'm not lying to you, and we are actually talking in front of a whole bunch of people.
People are watching this?
And people are actually watching this. I am...
Yeah. Sure they are. Sure they are.
I am going to scroll back through the chat and look at some stuff here. So Aaron said, "Hi, Josh. We already follow each other on Twitter. Can't help.
Yeah.
Can't help you hit 10,000? I don't know what that means.
Oh, the 10,000. Yeah, I should mention that.
What is that?
So there's another platform out there called Twitter.
Yes.
So I'm not on Twitch, but I'm pretty active on Twitter.
Okay.
I find it funny.
There you go.
And I've got a pretty big following. Yeah. And since I made this announcement the other day, I have close to 9,000 people following.
Holy crap.
Me there.
That's great.
Yes. Actual people. And so I can't remember how somebody asked me a question about singing some song, if I'd sing. I've been doing some karaoke over on YouTube.
Yeah.
To amuse myself and learn the production software that I'm using for the virtual speeches now. So I've been singing karaoke songs, and somebody asked if I'd sing one from Digimon and the Digimon theme song. And I said, okay, you guys, if you can get me to 10,000 followers on Twitter, I will sing the Digimon theme song in the Thai voice.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I've gained hundreds of followers in the last day or so since posting that.
That's great.
Many hundreds of followers, but still need about 1,000 more. So anybody watching, just look up Joshua Seth on Twitter.
Okay.
Give me a follow, and I'll do it.
There you
I'll
go.
I'll do a good job too. I'll put some effort into this and cover the Digimon theme song in the Thai voice.
That's awesome.
So that's what he's talking about.
Okay. And my apologies. It wasn't Aaron. It was Adam. So there we go.
Look at that fancy headset you have on there.
I don't know how fancy it is per se.
Does it keep your ears warm?
It
must.
It makes me not be able to hear anything other than just you and myself. So she's been trying to get my attention, and
this is a directional microphone. So you can see, for those of you out there that are interested in microphones, it's a large diaphragm condenser microphone, and I'm speaking off axis to it right here. So I'm speaking across it so that you don't hear any pops or plosives, and I don't need, therefore, a windscreen or anything like that. And because it's facing toward me and away from the computer, I don't need headphones in because it won't pick anything up. So I'm not wearing anything. Not even pants.
What? That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, there we go.
Or am I?
Oh.
And are they green or yellow or whatever that question was about the dress?
What? Okay. I am.
You claim there's a chat. You claim there's a chat.
I am.
You can't find it yourself.
No, I am technologically not as good as she is, because she's been sending me all of the people who've been asking questions, just putting them all concisely in one area so I don't have to go scrolling for them. Wait, D23Mon. I can't remember your first name, but you know who you are. I know who you are. Joshua doesn't know who you are, but he knows that you're actually a real person because I'm actually saying somebody other than myself. So,
okay,
there you go.
Sounds made up to me, but yeah, we'll go with that.
D23Mon would like to know if you have any favorite Digimon moments that you would like to share.
Yes, when we were recording the movie, the first Digimon the movie, and I remember Jeff Nimoy was directing me.
Yeah.
And I remember the day it happened. Terry O'Malley one of the producers,
I love Terry.
came in with a menu and asked me what I wanted for lunch. And that was the first time I realized that they had a budget for the movie.
Yes.
And that we were going to get craft services.
Yes.
I still can't believe it all these years later that Saban fed me.
Yeah. That was that. Were you there when they did the premiere on 20th Century Fox lot?
Not only was I there, they sent me a limousine.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They sent me a limousine.
That's awesome.
They asked how many people were in my entourage, and then afterwards they told me that I could have the limo and the driver all night.
What?
And I didn't know it was so sad. I didn't even know where to go. I told him to go up to Mulholland and look at the lights of the city and the valley.
That was amazing.
And then go home because I didn't know where to go because I worked so much that I didn't have any fun. I mean, I didn't have any fun outside of work.
Right.
So to say, I literally didn't know where to go with this limo and driver.
Wow. Yeah. That's so
I have a lot
cool.
of clippings somewhere from back when there used to be newspapers of people interviewing me on an actual red carpet on the 20th Century backlot for the Digimon movie premiere. Yeah. My Hollywood moment.
That was amazing. My one shared memory when we were all walking to go towards I guess they had rented out a particular studio where we could actually watch it inside of that studio, and they had set up a theater thing with the whole big giant screen and all that.
Yeah.
And it's like, as we're walking and I'm going past whatever stage they do the Simpsons in, and it's like, oh my God, it's the Simpsons donut. It's like, we have arrived.
Yeah. And I had just done some show over at Nickelodeon with Nancy Cartwright, actually. So I remember wondering, is she in there now? Yeah.
That's so cool. That's so
cool.
cool.
Those were the halcyon days.
What show did you do with her?
I don't know. I know I have an art cell from it somewhere. I should look at it because I did a lot of stuff that's not listed on IMDb. Sometimes I used nom de plumes, like fake names.
Yeah.
Because again, I just didn't care. Sometimes I'd use my little brother's name. And sometimes I'd make up a name. So my name isn't always credited. Okay. I don't know if, like, for instance, it's come up sometimes that I was the second voice actor to voice Alpha 5 on Power Rangers. And I don't know why, but for some reason that's not on IMDb. And now apparently this Nickelodeon thing is not on IMDb. And I have lots of these little residual checks that come in
that say otherwise.
Let's see what this is from. That I'm not credited on IMDb. This one's from Jingle All the Way.
There you go.
I played the elf that gets thrown around the room by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I went whoa, whoa, like the pacifier. I don't even remember doing that. You get these little residual checks. I just let them stack up here. They're so minuscule. Starship Troopers. I did that and a bunch of other stuff. So sometimes I'm not credited for things.
Hey, it happens. Kim would like to know how portraying Dio in Last Exile,
Lord Dio Eleclair,
differed to portraying Tai in Digimon.
It was different, yes.
Yes, it was.
Different character.
Just
Digimon's all, Tai is all like, he's the crest of courage. He's all gung-ho and everything. And Lord Dio, I just felt like leaning back. Tai is very much, okay, I guess this is the essence of it. Tai leans forward, Lord Dio leans back. Because he doesn't really need to lift a finger, just a little pinky finger. If you have ultimate power, I always felt like when I played villains, I wanted to do the opposite of what you would think and put very little effort into it, because if you're that powerful, why raise your voice?
Yes. And sometimes that makes an even scarier villain.
Yes.
Because then you don't know what to expect from them.
I can't remember if I did that with Lord Dio or with Chaos, but with one of those two, I definitely went very far in that direction of just off with his head.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a more Shakespearean way of approaching a villain too. Like, not all like chewing the scenery, but just the king sitting on his throne lifts the ring finger slightly and someone is executed. Like that sort of an idea.
Exactly. Well, since you are quarantined and can't go visit other countries, we are bringing the UK to you with Vanessa, who is actually on the show with us right now, and she lives in the UK. Wanted to know if you ever got emotional when voicing on Wolf's Rain.
Yeah, that death scene with Blue, definitely. I recall that. I don't want to give anything away for those of you that haven't seen, so perhaps I shouldn't have said that. I'll just say there was a certain scene with Blue. Yeah, and certainly even in Akira too. I don't think we've mentioned that yet. I played Tetsuo
right
in Akira, and whenever there's highly emotive scenes, I come from that school of acting. Like I started on the stage where I feel like the performer should actually feel the emotions and not pretend.
Yes.
So whenever I am emoting in a role, I seek to be as honest about the portrayal of that feeling as possible and really experience it. Sometimes you don't have time, though, in a session to go so far too deep as you would on the stage. But yeah, to the extent that I could in the given amount of time, I did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not necessarily a question, but just a comment, and this is coming from pretty much everybody that is on with us today. They all love your shirt. So there you go. Good job wearing it. And another comment from Megan, who says that she could listen to you talk all day. You keep it real. So there you go.
All right. I like that. That's high praise. Thank you. Wait, let me wax philosophic about that for a second, too. There seems to be a trend amongst at least American actors of the last couple decades to be ironic about everything. I hate irony. It is the antithesis of emotional truth. And I feel like as an actor, and voice acting, I'm sure you would agree, is a rarefied form of acting. As an actor, it's our job to really feel and really experience and thereby help audiences understand and connect with the characters that we are portraying. And you can't do it if you're just like shrugging everything off and flippant and ironic about everything. And we can only portray something on the mic or on camera to the extent that we are capable of experiencing it in our own lives.
Right.
So to the extent that you are willing to be honest and transparent and vulnerable in your real life and your daily interactions, that's the limit of your capability as an actor, quite honestly.
Yeah.
So I think it goes hand in hand. So somebody saying that I'm keeping it real as a person, to me, that means I'm capable of keeping it real as an actor. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sir Air Dude wants to know if you could record a show with a bunch of people in the same room, who would you like to record with? And they don't necessarily have to be alive.
This is like if you could have dinner with any 5 people.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
Let's see. It's impossible. Who would it be? Okay. I'll say the first one that came to my mind was Jack Black.
Okay.
Because he did a great job in Kung Fu Panda, and he's a musician, and he's funny.
Yeah.
So we'll start with that, with Jack Black.
There you go.
Then let's add Frank Welker, because he can do all the animal sounds.
Of course.
He can do things that I can't do.
Yeah.
It would add
he can do
something
things
very different.
Most people can't do. Yeah.
Right? Lady Gaga.
Oh, really?
Because she's a genius.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And amazing. And plus, I feel tall. I'll feel tall then in the room, which I'm not, by the way. I'm taller than her. Donald Glover, also genius.
Yes.
And man of many talents, and I'm sure would do great. And the girl that got away. And I'm thinking of someone specific. Yes. Just because if I could have her in the room, sure, maybe I have another shot.
Okay. All right.
So,
Cool.
Yeah, that would round it out.
Surfing Slowbro wanted to know if it was challenging voicing Motamon, considering his voice is more childlike.
Actually, I've been doing that voice since I was a little kid because Motimon is this squishy little marshmallowy looking pink character in Digimon.
Okay.
I did a lot of the voices in the first season of the TV show of Digimon, and like a lot. I mean, I was the first voice of Tentomon and Motimon and of course Tai and a number of the other characters that weren't humans, that weren't the kids.
Right.
And then somebody in Saban said, "Oh no, we have to spread this work around, or he's going to ask for more money." That's my guess. So they started giving it to other people. But Motimon was my version of a character from my childhood. I remember a TV show, like a Saturday morning TV show from Hanna-Barbera, I think, called The New Shmoo Show. And Shmoo sounds exactly like Motimon, and they sound like this. Motimon!
Yes!
Motimon sounds like this. The Shmoo, the New Shmoo Show. And nobody would have put that together if I hadn't said it, because nobody remembers that show. But sometimes we use these, as voice actors, we use vocal references from our own body and knowledge path, movies and cartoons and people that we have known. Actually, I was talking about this in the last VO master class I did, which was just like last week, and somebody said, "How do you keep track of the characters?" I said, "Well, my old style of doing it is I used to have a stack of 3x5 cards, and I would write down my names for the characters and taglines and vocal characteristics and laugh or something like that. It would get me back into it very quickly. Now I just would, do that on my phone in the notes app."
Sure. Yeah. No.
So that would be my note for Motimon would be New Shmoo Show.
Nice.
To remind me how it was. So it was never challenging because it was a voice that I did since childhood.
Awesome. Did the same thing.
So, yeah.
3x5s.
Good question.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Questioner.
From Lauren, was there a villain's philosophy that resonated with you? Example, Knives' theory about saving all the butterflies, etc.
Yeah, that scene. I get where you're coming from with that. Well, Joseph Campbell in Hero with a Thousand Faces said that a villain is never a villain to themselves. They always justify what they're doing. They always think they have a righteous cause, even if they're like killing and pillaging and doing bad things to someone else. That was part of the idea of the book Hero with a Thousand Faces. Is the hero's journey can take many forms, and it's always from the perspective of the person themselves. They think they are on that journey, right? Yeah. They think that they are doing what they're doing for a greater cause. So when playing a villain, I always would think, how would they justify this action that they're taking? Now, I would not want to get lost in the idea of justifying that to myself, Joshua, as a person, though. So I never entertained that, but only from the perspective of the character that I'm playing. How is it that they are seeing that what they are doing is good? And that Young Knives reference with the butterflies, that's a good example of it. Usually it's not so spelled out in that way. Right. But no, I wouldn't take those philosophies on myself, because then I myself would become a bad person.
Right. Do you have a fondest memory from Akira?
Yes. The memory is this. It's that when I decided to become a voice actor, like made a decision to put together a demo and get an agent in Hollywood, I was actually a college student in New York City. This would be a good one to end on, because I see we're at the hour. Yeah. So let me give you this story here before we wrap up. So I went to a performing arts college, Tisch School of the Arts at New York University in Manhattan. And I had a very tiny apartment, because it's Manhattan, and I didn't have any air conditioning. And I was wandering the streets just looking for a place where I could go in and get out of the heat. And I wandered into an art house movie theater in Greenwich Village that was playing the original streamlined dub of Akira. It was the first time it was shown in America. And I'd never seen anything like it. There was no anime in America. There was no Digimon, Pokemon, anything like that yet. What people thought of as cartoons was things like Bugs Bunny, right? Or Hanna-Barbera,
Yeah.
silly stuff mostly
Sure.
for kids. And I came out of the theater thinking, wow, this is the future of animation. When this hits in America, when people start to see this style of animation that's more realistic, that has adult themes, it's going to become the next wave, and I want a part of it. And coincidentally or not, I had a radio show because I was in a film, television, and radio program at NYU, and it was 50,000 watts going out to 3 states, WNYU, New York City. And I started putting together a demo after that with the time that I had in the booth, got a Hollywood agent, moved out to Hollywood. Now, fast forward 7 years later, Kevin Seymour, who's now passed on, but he gave me a call from Pioneer. Pioneer had decided to invest in re-releasing Akira, re-scripting it, redoing the music and effects and the voiceover and making more sense out of it, recasting it. And he asked me, without an audition, to play Akira, to play Tetsuo in Akira, because he'd already worked on other projects with me. He already knew me.
Yeah.
Not having any idea that Akira was the thing that got me into the business in the first place, assuming that I had no idea what Akira was, in fact. And then I told him once I got there the whole story. And life's funny that way, where it can come full circle.
That is awesome. I do have one last question for you, and this is what we will end on and give you the farewell to.
Sure.
So I want you to do me a favor now. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to tell me, I know that we all have, pressures in the world. We all have things that we have to do in life that we cannot get away from. But I want you to tell me, Joshua Seth, and this is also a question from Lauren, what your perfect day consists of.
You're not going to like this answer, but
hey,
like every day, I am very grateful. I'm grateful every day that I wake up and I get to do things that I love. Maybe not the thing that I would have preferred in the past because of COVID, but I'm engaged in what I'm doing. I have a lot of curiosity about learning these skills that are necessary for virtual presentations, and I get to be home and play with my kids. That's a big part of it. And it has to do with gratitude. And I'm just very grateful to have lived the life that I'm living. And on any given day, if that's my last day, I will have been happy to have lived it. There's nothing else that I'm not doing that I wish I could do. Yeah, I can't travel. I like traveling. But I also like staying home and playing with my kids. And sometimes I don't have my kids because I co-parent. And my girlfriend just decided to get mad and depressed one day during lockdown, during COVID, which, I understand. I mean, I was mad and depressed for a while as well, but she handled it differently and just decided to break up. And I just said, okay, I wish you well. And the next day, another woman walked into my life, literally the next day. And I think the only reason I mention that is it has to do with gratitude and just appreciating how lucky we are to be alive, and however much or little we have, there are others in that have less or that are dealing with health issues. I have friends with chronic diseases. I have people that I know in my own family and are close-knit friends that are going through chemo or having, procedures, of people that have been in the hospital that I know personally with COVID. We keep coming back to that, but it's a thing of the moment.
Yeah.
So, this is a perfect day. So was yesterday. So tomorrow we'll come back to where we started, which is it has to do with attitude. And I'm enjoying my life. So now this,
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I really do appreciate you being on the show with us. Like I told you before we even started, everybody watching us right now is a Digimon fan. Obviously, that's their passion.
So because I get so many questions about how to be a voice actor, I put together a quick start guide.
Okay.
JoshuaSeth.com, just my name, JoshuaSeth.com/VO. You can get that. It's free, and it's my collected thoughts on the topic of how you can get started doing voiceovers.
Perfect.
And then if you want to take action on that, I run a monthly online voiceover class on Zoom. I keep the numbers small so that I can coach everybody. We do vocal assessments, mic checks, cold reading, direction, and so forth. And the last one went over 2 hours, actually, which is a little longer than I would like. But when I get to everybody, which is, again, I need to keep it small, but you go to joshuaseth.com class if you're interested in that. And you can follow me, not on Twitch, but I am on Facebook, Twitter, and the Gram.
Awesome.
I guess I should mention my YouTube channel. Yeah, just look up Joshua Seth on YouTube because I'm putting out content a couple times a week on YouTube now. Cool. Sometimes karaoke, sometimes snippets from other presentations and interviews and things that I'm giving. So yeah, definitely I should have included that.
That's awesome.
YouTube, my name.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you again, sir. Stick around really quick while I wrap things up. Guys, thank you very much for joining Joshua and I today. So until then, please be good humans. Keep your feet on the ground. Reach for the stars. You know we love you. Mwah. Take care.